Hello and live from the infamous Murph's pub, I'm Jeremy Taylor and welcome to this week's Wednesday Night Undressed, the podcast that reaches into the wobbly places of the podcast's daring adventure. Yes. I'm doing this intro with a little help from my friend Ivo, all the way from Bulgaria. We don't claim to look at things scientifically, but we definitely have all the answers to your mysteries, vegetable, animal and mineral. We know the kings and queens of England and questions most political. In short, we can explain matters mathematically. Hang on a minute, why are you leaving?
I needed some alcohol. Be right back.
Alcohol.
I'm only halfway through the intro.
Well, that's when you need alcohol, in the middle of the intro.
Well, goodness gracious.
Matters mathematical?
We are, where did we get to? Matters mathematical.
Mineral, you mentioned mineral.
And medicals and things like that.
Most
anyway,
political.
in short, we're the only naked podcast you can undress to on a Wednesday night whilst wallowing in your bath.
I have a quick question. How do you undress while you're in your bath?
You can undress on a Wednesday night whilst, well, you know.
With a lot of towels.
Yes. I've never quite understood that little bit of that.
Well, in all the time I've been married to you, we never had a bath together, have we? I mean, you don't like
Okay,
baths.
it's getting way too personal in here, bro. Okay. Alrighty then.
Well, you are naughty, but we like you.
I have an idea. Let's share less.
Yeah. I feel like maybe we should be a lot more like walls. Let's build some walls.
Les, he's a nice boy, Les. Yes, so in the team tonight, Meredith, Lewis, Fernando, Kath, Ivo, Jeremy, Alena, and Eli.
She has
Alena's
alcohol,
back
so
now.
we're good.
Normally, she has an intravenous drip. But generally. And so, questions. Weird questions tonight, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. And you may have to translate for our friends in Bulgaria.
Yeah.
We do have a question from Bulgaria, by the way.
From Radina?
Yes, from Radina.
Yeah.
She wants to know what she can use as golden syrup for making a chocolate biscuit cake.
Well, that's question directed to you.
Yes,
Golden
and I
syrup
don't know what you can use. What's golden syrup in Bulgaria? What would be the equivalent of golden syrup?
I don't know what golden syrup is.
It's
like-
a
Does it-
thick
It's
corn
a
syrup.
syrup.
Does it
It's
have-
golden.
Okay, has anything to do with Donald Trump in Russia?
I went there like a reporter. I went
It's
I
corn,
hope
like
not.
corn syrup.
Corn?
Corn
it's
syrup,
Caro.
yeah, C-O-R-N.
right?
Yeah.
So
Caro
maple,
syrup.
maybe maple syrup. Can
could-
maple syrup
yeah, maybe
replace
maple.
that?
Yeah,
Sure.
okay.
Let's.
So
Radina
we're
needs
looking,
Nice thick
maple
we're
sugary
looking,
syrup will
Radina,
do.
we want a picture of your chocolate biscuit cake, please, being eaten by the rest of
Double
our-
entendres
the
again.
Wednesday night undressed team in Bulgaria. So here's one. Got this on the news as well. Why on earth would anybody cook chicken in NyQuil, which is a cough mixture, cold mixture?
It's a challenge.
And would be expensive too, wouldn't it?
So okay, let's
Stupid.
Well, it
stop.
depends. If you're trying to make a demi-glaze with your NyQuil, then
Shut
yeah,
up
you're
with your
gonna,
demi-glaze. Don't even.
Yeah.
Did you really just say NyQuil demi-glaze? Like stop.
Okay, so Meredith, you go first.
On what? Why
Well,
somebody
why
does
cook
something
chicken?
stupid?
Why would
I
you
feel
cook
that there's
chicken?
a series of neurons that fires incorrectly in dumb people, and they come up with things like NyQuil coated chicken, and then like those people have access to social media, and then we have to have this conversation. That's my take on it.
So you think we should limit access to social media to people who will not put NyQuil anywhere near a chicken?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
and lots of other. There's a
Okay.
whole other class of
I'm good
people
with
as
that.
well. Like that's right. Yeah.
Eli
too.
is chirping in there down the other end. What do you think? Would you cook chicken in NyQuil?
I don't know if I cook with no NyQuil, but I guess if you want a little sweet heat or something like that, you
Oh my
can
God.
pop some NyQuil on there.
Would you?
not
would
sweet
you?
heat,
What
no.
would you cook with NyQuil?
With NyQuil?
Yeah.
I think you just take it raw. I mean,
Shots. Two shots.
yeah, some shots.
2 shots of NyQuil, please.
Have you ever heard of anything weird like this?
Well, I
Cooking
mean,
chicken in cough mixture.
you know, I was surprised when I heard about that because usually when I cook chicken I use Dayquil.
Dayquil.
That's where they got it wrong. Because Dayquil's green.
Dayquil.
Or orange.
It's
No,
orange.
NyQuil.
It's orange.
Yeah,
It gives it a
orange.
nice roasted color.
So you get a little, not too much of the menthol flavor
Much
and
better
match
than
a
milk of
color.
magnesium.
Talk.
So
It'd be nice because I got a special microphone. tonight.
I noticed that
It's
somebody
very
cares
cool, isn't
about
it?
you. I don't know, like
Yeah.
It's
why.
not us.
but
Very
yeah.
cool. Another man's wife.
So I see the NyQuil story or the Tide Pod story or the cinnamon challenge, like all of these stupid things that people are doing on TikTok. And I
Why are
try
you
to
guys attacking TikTok?
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
on
it's-
TikTok.
no, we're not
'Cause it's a
attacking
TikTok challenge.
We're attacking the fact that these inherently dangerous, pointless activities seem to find their home on TikTok. So this is
But
what we're talking about.
challenge is
though.
not a new thing. Like that go
That's my
pre-social
question.
media and even
Yeah. But the challenges that were pre-social media, were they so stupid? I guess is really the question. Like, did my generation 30 years ago like sit around and think of doing stupid shit and we just didn't have the mechanism to record it?
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
I don't know, man. I never went anywhere near chicken and NyQuil.
So this
I'm
is
like-
the thing. Like, and I don't know if it's just
I mean, I made a mud pie, but like that's as
Okay,
far as it went.
Alena.
Yeah, here's what I'll say. First of all, NyQuil is a drug.
right.
Cough medicine is a drug.
Yeah.
People have been abusing codeine and cough medicine since the 1915. So, if people are cooking chicken and NyQuil, most likely it's a lot of addicts. It's most likely it's a lot of people who are addicted to cough medicine who are engaging in that behavior, or the first few people who did it were addicted to cough medicine, and then it became like a whole like stupid social media challenge.
That's
see,
the part
another
that's
thing-
interesting.
see-
That's the part that's
ahead.
interesting. Yeah.
Another thing I'll say that is a problem is that the algorithms that they use to promote viral content promote disgusting content. The content that goes viral, is intentionally disgusting, dangerous content that causes death to people. And that is the content that they have decided to allow to go viral on their platforms. That is the content that they have decided to allow their algorithms to promote. So they have decided to promote things like cinnamon challenges and turkey NyQuil cough medicine things
Tide Pods are delicious.
and the Tide Pod shit.
I find
And they
it-
have decided to sit back and unethically allow these kinds of things to happen.
Quick question.
So that's
Who-
on the creators of the apps as well.
Who is they?
Yeah,
When you-
okay, so
who
I'm
is they?
curious because not like 3 minutes ago you said, why are we attacking TikTok? And then you literally just gave us the exact reason why TikTok should be held accountable for the things that are going viral, because it is, in fact, their algorithm that they have licensed that comes up and produces these videos. And then the other thing is not to say that nobody ever cooked NyQuil chicken before, but social media gave it this platform to now, whereas Joe Bob may have done it, and we all knew Joe Bob was living crazy at the end of the street, but now Joe Bob has access to social media, so now there's tens of thousands of Joe Bobs.
What I'm saying is the people who create the apps are bad people, but that doesn't mean TikTok is a bad place or a dumb place.
Okay, fair point. I have cooked steak in martini.
Yeah.
Why?
That sounds disgusting.
I just thought it was cool.
So but ultimately, this is the question
No.
that I have. Like, do we think it's cool simply because we saw somebody else do it? And did we not have that mechanism before? Like, I don't. Let me give you, for example. When I was 12, I had a dirt bike. At some point, I figured out that if I take a 4x8 piece of plywood and set a couple of cinder blocks on one side of it, it makes a ramp.
Yeah.
So,
That's awesome.
yeah, like every kid on
And
my
that's why
block.
you're one of the
Stuff.
youngest ones here tonight, because you think that's awesome. That to me sounds like a broken hip.
So I rode my bike over this ramp and probably fell 7 or 8 times. Like, it's an inherently dangerous activity that I'm engaged in simply for the fact that I can do it. Like, is that what's going on with the stuff like the Tide Pod? The Tide Pod Challenge, or is there something else that, like, these people are literally putting their lives more in danger than I did when I was jumping off my ramp at 12? I guess is ultimately my question.
I feel like you weren't really making a spectacle of yourself when you were doing that ramp.
But I was spectacular.
Right. Oh, yeah, no doubt. But you were just
Give him
doing
his
it
props,
for the
bro.
fun of it. It may have been a little dangerous, a little crazy, but it was for the fun. But
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of these people are doing it to make a spectacle of themselves.
Shock value.
Because that's
They're-
how social
they're-
media. If
what-
you're a
what do they call
spectacle,
it?
people fucking watch.
Right.
Influencers, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure we all did stupid things.
Not you, Journey.
No.
No, not me.
Oh, and not
Never.
that.
Not
Never,
Kathleen,
Kath,
ever.
never.
No.
She never did anything stupid.
I never drove down the center of the road on my bike with no hands and my eyes closed.
That sounds wise. Yeah.
Don't be coy now. Don't be
It's so cute to be what you think is risque.
Okay, moving on. Was New York City's Mayor Eric Adams correct when he said Kansas doesn't have a brand? Fernando wants to go first.
May I start this?
You may start this.
Well, I'm not from here, but I mean, live here for more than 15 years, 17, no, maybe 18. But anyhow,
Call
if
it
some of the
19.
facts are
Shake the
different
hand,
here,
19.
screw you, New York. Who is the New York Knicks? That one of the basketball teams that they
One of the
whatever?
worst. Yeah.
They
Okay,
suck.
you know where basketball was invented? In Kansas.
There you go. Hit him with the facts.
Take that.
Naismith, come
All
on now.
Nathan's hot dog, that just breast of, crab meat. Try Kansas City barbecue.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay. All right. Jazz musicians. Okay, you have Miles Davis and many other ones. Charlie Parker. Kansas.
Okay.
Take that.
Take that.
Giants?
Take that. Take that didn't come from Kansas City.
Charlie Parker
okay.
came from Kansas City.
Oh, I see.
Charlie
All
Parker.
right.
Charlie Parker.
Yeah.
Jeremy's talking about a band called.
But come on, there is more.
Don't stop it now, man. Come on.
He's on a roll.
Don't make our listeners
Yeah.
confused.
Okay.
It's all facts here. New York Giants, football
Screw the
professional
Giants.
crap stuff.
Supposedly professional.
KC Chiefs, yeah, allegedly.
We'll take that. That's technically
They're
on the
allegedly
Missouri side, but
professional.
we'll claim it for the purpose
Take
of the
the
argument.
Chiefs.
KC
Rudy
football's currently
Giuliani?
undefeated.
We have Chris Copa.
Oh God.
Pick your poison.
I'd rather kick both of them out. Thank you.
You know the big business guy, Bloomberg, whatever.
Yeah.
Cook Brothers, Kansas, right?
Koch brothers.
Koch brothers?
Yeah.
I say Cook.
They're Crook brothers.
So I'm not
Slow down
Cuomo.
there, Fernando.
Cuomo, whatever was the Cuomo guy.
Cuomo.
Yeah, something like that.
Homosexual.
Brownback.
Oh, okay. No. Okay. We need some disclaimers here on the list that he's giving Kansas.
Brand,
First name
yeah.
Sam.
Oh, son of. Now let's go serial killer now. Son of Sam.
Son of Sam.
BTK.
Yes, we are proud of our serial killers here in the
we're proud
Midwest.
of
Take that.
Brownback and serial killers.
Jesus Christ. I feel like you're making the argument for Eric Adams. God.
Let's go mobs now. Al Capone.
Yeah,
Al
but
Capone.
We have
we have
the
Pendergast.
Joseph, the Giovanni.
Johan.
That's
I don't know. I don't know.
All right, okay.
it's big mobs.
Okay. Okay.
We're like-
We'll take your word for it.
Yeah,
Right.
the biggest. On the heart of the country. And music, you get like Sonic Youth, Talking Heads, and so on. The New York bands, I mean, that's stuff to beat.
Yeah,
However, we have
yeah.
Kansas.
Yes, we do.
We have KC Sunshine Band.
Yeah.
And Melissa Etheridge.
Yes, that's right. That's it, guys. Take that, New
Hey,
York.
movies.
Oh,
Christmas.
The Apple,
42nd Street. What was that one?
Miracle on 42nd.
Miracle on
Dad
42nd.
showed me that one.
Well, we have Dorothy
Miracle
and
on
the Wizard of
34th
Oz. So there.
Did I say 34?
Yeah,
Lewis.
I saw 43rd.
Lou, what you
Lewis,
got?
what would you say? Does Kansas
Can you
have
help
a brand?
Kansas out after that display?
I don't know that anybody can top what Fernando just did. Like, yeah, I mean,
I'm not from here.
if we
Just a
got
little bit, I know.
brand, like he definitely hit on it. Yeah, no, I think Eric was full of shit. Like, we for sure we have a brand, and quite honestly, I think the brand is our people. Like when I moved to Kansas, literally, I drove into the state and was like, these are some of the nicest people I've ever come across. And I feel like wherever I go, I can always tell another Kansan when I see them because
It's the overalls.
is, well, in addition to the overalls and the copious amounts of methamphetamine, it is the happy, like, just there's a demeanor to the folks. Yeah. And so when I think of sort of a positive person, I'm going to think of, like, people from Kansas. When I think of somebody that, like, really doesn't want to be fucking bothered, then, yeah, like, I think New York.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's New York.
Oh my
And
gosh.
big cities are like that. LA's a little bit less like that, but the big cities where they're all real close, they're like that. They don't want to be.
Meredith,
Yeah.
what do you think?
So that was a great political answer. If you're setting yourself up
Hey,
there,
I'm
Esquire,
on the
that was
I'm-
beautiful.
Somebody's got to
It
run
was-
for
I was-
governor at some point, right?
I was very impressed. I think Kansas does have a brand. I think Eric Adams is a bit. He exemplifies what it is that Republicans who talk about ignoring flyover states. He literally is like that. You're doing exactly what they're accusing us of. When you say and make bold comments like that, I think it's stupid. Just a little heads up: Kansas did rebuke abortion being taken away as a right, so that's what's up. We're smart out here. And when all your electrical power gets knocked out when you fall off the coast, New York, you can rely on us for wind turbines, which we have. Thank you. You're welcome.
That's good info. This is a good place. Yeah.
Alena.
All right, I got a couple. Kansas's brand. I got a couple things. One, once again, with the moving with the climate change theme. When everything floods, we're right here in the middle. Everything's good. So we're geographically positioned well.
We're going to have so many people moving here.
Yeah, so many people. So many people. Property prices are going to up.
We'll
the
just
roof.
fly him back to Martha's Vineyard.
And then,
Sorry. Oops, my bad.
through the roof. And then the other thing about Kansas, our brand, I would say sunflowers. Huge brand in Kansas. Everybody loves sunflowers. Everybody associates sunflowers with Kansas. Most women I know from Kansas have a sunflower tattoo, myself included. That's how big the sunflower brand is. It's a huge brand, the sunflower brand.
I might have a necklace, but I don't know about a tat.
I branded myself with the sunflower brand. Then another thing I'd say is Wizard of Oz, the film with Judy Garland. If you move from Kansas and you're a woman, it doesn't matter anything else about you. If you're a woman and you move from Kansas, or you visit anywhere, and they say, "Where are you from?" and you say, "I'm from Kansas," they'll say, "Like Dorothy?" And that's how big the Wizard of Oz brand is. It doesn't matter anything else about your appearance. They will ask you if you're like Dorothy if you go anywhere other than So that's Kansas's brands.
Ivo, you've lived here for quite a long time now.
Yeah. So I'm not sure, first of all, what the New York City's mayor problem is and what the heck was he thinking, making that incredibly dumb statement. That made no sense, was out of the blue, was unprovoked, not called for, just bizarre. This guy is a bizarre character. So that's, first of all, that's just a puzzling situation that he put himself into. And secondly, I approach this from a different point of view. As a foreigner, I try to think back to the times before I came to the United States and before I came to Kansas, because I spent half of my life in another country. And what was the word Kansas, those 6 letters, what did that mean to me back then? Well, the number one thing for a foreigner of my generation is immediately the band Kansas, and 3 of their songs that are very, very popular: Dust in the Wind, Carry On My Wayward Son, and Hold On. And so this is the number one thing that immediately gets triggered when people hear the word Kansas if you're a foreigner. So that's a brand. That's a band that was composed here, like 20 miles from here in Topeka. In fact, the violinist was from Lawrence and went to the same middle school as Alena did, Robbie Steinhardt.
But not at
forgot
the
about
same
that
time,
band.
right?
That's a brand.
Maybe at the same time. I don't think he graduated on time. He had to go back to middle school when Alena was in middle
He
school.
did go to the same. He did go to the same middle school and didn't Was he the one that became a preacher, or was it a different one that became a
No,
preacher?
this Gary Livgren that I actually met with him, and he invited me to one of his services. But so that's one thing. For me, obviously the Wizard of Oz is a big thing, and wherever I go, people always make references to the Wizard of Oz when I say that I live in Kansas. In fact, we were just in another state with Eli, Neil, and Lou, and we were sitting in a circle talking to about 8 other people from other parts of the country, and lo and behold, like 5 minutes into the conversation, somebody tried to tell us, looked at us and said, I know you guys came from Kansas, but you're not in Kansas anymore. And I was really...
Like, no shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we know.
Yeah. I was like, it was so tempting to say, this has been said so many times that it's kind of lost its value and
But
weight.
people love it, man. They
Yeah.
love Kansas in that way. Like, they
Yeah.
can't help themselves, man.
They love
Yeah.
the Wizard of Oz stuff. They love
So
that.
I don't know though if I don't know how to take this reference to the Wizard of Oz anymore. But that's a brand. The sunflowers, like Alena said, is huge part of it. Amelia Earhart and aviation is very big, and most people know that Kansas was a huge part of aviation history in America. Maybe because it's right in the middle of the country and it has so much open space and opportunities to create airports and places for airplanes to take off and land. But we've had a lot of aviation history here. I went to watch the solar eclipse with Neil a few years back, and because of the path of the solar eclipse, we decided to travel to the one place where we are going to experience a complete, stunning solar eclipse, and that place was Atchison, Kansas, the birthplace of Amelia Earhart, and the best place to experience it was at Amelia Earhart Airport. So we went there, parked our car there, and stood on the tarmac basically for hours waiting for the solar eclipse. And that was beautiful, and we felt the history of aviation there, and it might sound corny, but we felt even her spirit a little bit there. So there's a lot of things, and obviously Kansas manufactures most of the bread and wheat for the United States. That New York style pizza, try to eat it without a crust. So I mean, he was asking for trouble. The mayor was. It's obvious that he made a massive mistake, and just bad judgment.
He needs to shush up.
It's interesting. I made a little list, and everybody's mentioned the one thing that you remember Kansas, the band Kansas, and until I met my wife, I didn't know where Kansas was.
Yeah.
You could have put a gun to my head, and I couldn't have told you where it was.
But to be fair, you don't know where any of your servants live either. So
True. But the song Wichita Linesman?
Mm-hmm.
That was for me. I knew Wichita was in Kansas for some reason. I didn't know where Wichita was. It could have been outside Boston. But I put the two together for Kansas. And I think sunflowers, it's in Ukraine are also big into sunflowers,
Yes,
aren't they?
very big. That's the wheat basket of Europe. But also, being the geographic center of the contiguous United States is kind of important and meaningful because it really is the heart of the country. And it's better to be closer to the heart than to the flooding East Coast.
All the coasts that are going to flood, they're bad places to be.
Can I say this just because we're sitting in Lawrence? Also, because when you said, what does Kansas mean to you, it kind of made me think what Kansas means to me, regardless of what Eric Adams said, because I'm also not from Kansas. I'm originally from Houston, Texas. So what it meant to me was my family moved here to escape the discrimination that they were living of in the South. And as we sit in Lawrence, Kansas, the home of the Jayhawkers, and
huge.
the free abolition state that we were in.
It's called Free State for a reason.
Thank you. I think that we respect the fact that Kansas has always kind of determined what they thought was right and what was wrong, not based upon political party lines. We may step in it every now and again, but at the end of the day, we know right from wrong. So Maybe they could take a lesson up in New York.
Just somebody else
So-
that can do the government thing.
There was a famous book during the Bush years called "What's the Matter with Kansas," and really, like you
But
said,
it was all about abortion, and what's so fascinating is that we actually voted pro-choice.
it's nothing's the matter with Kansas. We have a Democratic congresswoman, a Democrat, and it's not the first time. Kathleen Sebelius was just relatively recently, another two-term, not congresswoman, governor. I wanted to say governor.
Who became the health secretary?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, we are not, it's not what's the matter with Kansas. Kansas often makes the right choices. Often makes the right choices at the right time, and it's not as backwards as people seem to think.
Well, I mean, they'll say, okay, Sam Brandbach was a really conservative governor. Yeah, Giuliani is one of the most conservative individuals who's ever lived in the world. Yeah,
See, we're all entitled to one batshit crazy governor, mayor, whatever.
Yeah, and he did help. He was the mayor during 9/11, so of course people are going to love him because he was there during a crisis. But the fact of the matter is, he's just as conservative as a right-winger.
And he's also batshit
So-
crazy.
So to look at
Thank
our
you.
state and say that our
Cuckoo
state
for Cocoa
is
Puffs.
backwards is a little bit silly.
Moving on and talking about batshit crazy. A moment of silence, please, in acknowledgement of our new king, King Charles, has a problem with his leaky pen. Misadventures of same.
Is that a euphemism for something?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good God.
Jeremy's getting
So-
verklempt. He's
so-
having it.
It's terribly good of you to be here. How do you avoid the leaky pen phenomenon?
There are pads.
What
you can
is
get
your
for that.
favourite writing implement? For me, I have a Parker pen.
Of course you do.
A Parker
If there were
fountain
not a
pen.
more clear
A
conversation about privilege right now, can I just say,
It is, it is
Victorian
my
shit right
favourite. Look, dinosaur.
Well, I have a fountain pen. I have two fountain pens from Five Below, and they are, I'm serious, they're real fountain pens. Mom's got them too. Better than a Parker pen, I'm telling you.
we appreciate
They
the plug.
are-
Thank you,
really-
Bones.
Those
Good
fountain
looking
pens
out.
are incredible. High quality fountain pens. They write very well, and they have a very pretty, like, turquoise kind of like facade on the outside, and they write like.
But Jeremy's
Those are
fountain
calligraphy
you
pens
just-
available for
just-
$4.25 at Five Below.
Why? There is something. I only use the fountain pen for very special occasions, and I have to fit it up because it dries out. So it's just one
a
of
special
my
thing.
nice things.
Yeah,
you know.
absolutely. We all have
Do
a-
you guys have Lewis? Pay attention.
Oh, it's
Yes,
the podcast
paying
started?
attention. We're doing a podcast.
I'll tell you my favorite writing implement:
I know that I didn't make a preference.
a free pen. Because I get them at work.
Oh yeah.
I don't know that I
Well,
don't know that I
well, with
graduated
COVID,
past
we have
crayon.
to give them. The people who use them have to keep them.
Right.
So you get a lot of free pens.
Fernando, do you have a favourite writing implement? Come to that. Do you have a favourite implement?
So you talk about that episode of the Charles III.
Yeah. He was getting really
I use normal
upset.
pens, and I never had this problem, and I never get upset, and I will lose the pen the next day, and then I take another pen. No, I don't have anything to add on that.
Chucky 3 needs to get himself a ballpoint pen.
Hang on a minute. What did you just say?
Chucky 3.
Chucky 3.
Much like Chuck E. Cheese,
Is there no respect in
No.
this damn place?
Nope.
I get no respect.
We would not.
Rodney Ginger.
We would not talk about the Bulgarian king like that, would we?
We'll never talk about that.
Simeon the Third,
Yeah.
Yeah.
or fourth, or whatever
Boris
he is.
Borisov
Well-
the 15th.
King Charles. So why was he so upset? It's just because he's a grumpy old man. Maybe
Because
people.
he's signing the contract to become king, and it dripped an ink splodge
Okay.
on one of the charters,
Yeah.
and he lost it because he's a
And-
spoilt brat.
It's possibly the reason also that we even paid attention to this is because Queen Elizabeth was so freaking stoic. She never ever seemingly never got upset at anything.
Maybe
she
she
never
knew how
changed
to use a pen.
expressions. She didn't. Yeah. Well, Leaky.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean,
She had the servant do it for her.
King Charles. I mean, the reason he exists is probably a leaky pen. You know.
Oh.
Nice one, Ivo. Like that. That was quality.
That was a good one.
Does anybody else use a leaky pen? Fernando, Lewis.
No, we were getting our food, but I said earlier, I don't know that I've graduated past crayon yet.
And they don't leak.
They don't.
That's the one thing you can say about crayons. They do not leak.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm unfamiliar with this problem.
I have the problem.
I don't, maybe I'm the only person that grew up in the real world here. I thought y'all did, but like, bro, having somebody there to hand you like 17 different types of pens and like, you're like, oh my God, my pen. I mean, it literally looked like he was going to have a temper tantrum and needed his diaper changed. Realized he's your king, but like, ooh, y'all got some problems, yo.
You know,
Oh, he was upset. Okay, so he was
He didn't
upset.
want to do it himself. It was the simplest, smallest thing he could have just done himself.
I mean, just threw his hands up and turned to Camilla. And
sorry.
was
He's
like,
upset.
oh, I don't know what to do.
Sometimes I go home. After a hard day, and I like throw a pin across the room, and I go, God damn this! Isn't this kind of a similar thing? Like, doesn't everybody do that? I'm not.
But you
do
need
I
you don't
sound
need no
crazy
damn
saying
servant
that?
to go pick up the pen. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Oh, if I had a personally
Well,
permit,
he's
I'd be
not
like,
a
go pick
servant,
that
he's an
up.
equerry, actually.
oh right.
If we're going to be, technical about this sort of stuff,
I'm not a
we'll
servant,
at least
but
get
if
it
I-
right.
yeah.
You know, I think that just
Equity.
sometimes people, I mean, I'm not going to defend a monarch, honestly.
Yeah, why?
But sometimes people get frustrated. I do understand that. Sometimes I'm in class at the university and I have like 15 pens in my pocket and every single pen doesn't work. And I keep switching
Yeah,
the
it's
pens and
frustrating.
I have like 10 seconds and none of the pens are working. And then I throw a pen on the ground and I look like a pissy little kid.
Yeah.
But like, I've gone through 15 pens before that moment.
When you're in an executive position and you have to sign a lot of documents all the time, I can see how you can get frustrated. We had a president that is basically an imbecile, and
Still is.
still is.
I mean,
But
he's not
he had
president
one,
anymore. He's still an imbecile.
But he had one thing right. He got one thing right. He always signed with a Sharpie. Always signed everything
Avoid the
with a
problem
fucking
altogether.
Sharpie.
Yeah.
For our listener outside of the United States, Sharpie is a permanent marker. It always works unless you leave it open, of course, for a long time, and it's permanent. You can't erase
I
the damn
sometimes
thing.
think he probably signed his name with the Sharpie so big on the paper that he obliterated half of what it said. I'll bet you.
So to me, honestly, though, it's
Huge
not the
shark.
fact that like the guy had a leaky pen or was frustrated by the leaky pen. It was the way he handled himself in front of cameras while you're sitting there, like your first thing signing King Charles or whatever. You could have handled yourself better, bro. I went to like the $60 Dillard's etiquette classes, like when I was like in 6th grade, and I can handle myself better. Like, come on, bro. That's all I'm saying. He acted like a big baby.
Andrei, you come and sat next to us. Do you have a favorite writing implement?
I like those pens that I forgot what they're called, but it's no. It's kind of like a Sharpie, but it's more fancy. Like it feels soft on the paper.
Soft.
Yeah, I don't know
Nice soft.
what it's called.
Soft
It's
on
like a
paper.
marker pen. It's basically a Sharpie, just fancier. And it's like a bunch of different colors. I like those. I don't know what they're
Crow's
called though.
joined us. What about you? Do you have a...
This is not Crow. This
Oh,
is
sorry, he looks
no,
like Crow. I'm
this is
blind.
Riley.
Riley. Oh, sorry, Riley.
Yeah.
I do apologise.
I mean, I like
Oh, no, you're not
Sharpies.
Crow. No, I've got my glasses off now.
I mean, I like Sharpies, but that's all Sharpies and pens, pencils, that's all I really be using.
Now I've got my glasses back on, he looks like Crow. So did you decide... You're a lawyer, you have to sign things, Lewis. Do you not have anything special?
No, they give us a big stamp, and so that I don't have to actually make the little. Like my hand gets so tired, so I just get a big stamp.
Yeah.
Should have hooked him up. He's getting the short end of the stick. Should have got the wax stamp.
Okay, so next question then. I think that wasn't a very good question. But anyway, what is the next
I think that was a
question?
dig at you, Lou.
Because I'm black.
I've lost all my questions. Now I've got them here. It's all right. I've got them. The world appears. This is a Bulgarian question. It's a question from a Bulgarian. The world appears to be besieged by potential calamities. Which one worries you most? The world appears to be besieged by potential calamities. Which one worries you most?
Can I go?
Yeah, you go first.
Number 1, nuclear war. Number 2, climate change.
Okay, nuclear war and climate.
Yeah.
Ivo, as I say, this is a Bulgarian question.
Okay.
The world appears to be besieged by potential calamities. Which one worries you most?
Of all the, so we currently have Hurricane Ian. Hurricanes are becoming more and more dangerous and more intense. We have dictators on the rise, polarization, cold civil war. We've got potentially, super volcanoes that can obliterate, entire continents. But what would be the number one? I'd say right now, nuclear holocaust, because we are once again on the precipice of a nuclear war, which we thought that we had, overcome that little problem. And now there's one country openly talking about using nuclear weapons against another country that's sitting right next to their border and threatening us with nuclear weapons once again. We thought that we left that behind in the 20th century. And to me, currently, that's the number one threat. But long-term, climate change, man. Climate change is petrifying, and I think people are just ignoring it. I was looking at a poll recently that said only, the current, voters right now, they're concerned the most with economy, with blah, 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 with stupid shit, and climate change is 5% of their concern. The other stuff is 50, 60%, 5% are concerned about climate change. So to me, it's two things. Right now, short-term nuclear war, long-term climate change.
Can
Kathleen.
I just wonder whether, I agree with that analysis that nuclear war is probably a more immediate concern, but my question is, would a nuclear war eliminate the problem of climate change?
It might. It will trigger nuclear winter.
Yeah, I guess it would correct the climate problem. It's just that most of us would die. I mean, I think probably 15 people would make it through that.
Lewis.
My fear for calamities, the biggest calamity is not immediate. It's not a war or a finally reaching the tipping point of the damage that we're doing to the climate. It is the ever-increasing joy that certain segments of society seem to be embracing a lack of compassion. For me, that is probably the thing that worries me most, because I from my vantage point, when you are not looking at the person that you're talking to or the person that you're dealing with as another person equal or worthy of respect and consideration, what I think I'm actually feeling something that's actually happening. But at the same time, tribalism has always been a thing for people. And I don't know if it's just that we are forced to be together more now because we live in a more congested society, and it is therefore easier to establish a tribe. It's me and Fernando against all you fuckers. That's easy to do. Somebody's phone. Oh, okay. That may be easier to do, and maybe even... Oh, that's the music from the... that may be easier, maybe necessary, because we live so close, so packed on top of one another right now. But the downside is we get things like when Trump got elected, people going out saying it's Trump time, beating up on minorities. There is a profound disconnect with humanity that seems to be prevalent right now in ways that I don't know that we actually dealt with before. There is a part of the discussion or the idea that rolls around in my head just that there was a kindler, gentler time, but that's almost sacrilegious for a black male to say. So, but there was at least a shared mythology that we were nicer people once upon a time.
I think it's important to understand. Certainly, my father, so 2 generations back, 40s and 50s, and he would say about the long-haired hippies, that he just couldn't get his head around. What we need's a good war. He didn't actually mean he wants people to go war because we were thinking about joining you guys in Vietnam. Yeah. But what he was meaning was the country all get together. Mm-hmm. For me as a foreigner, I remember when 9/11 happened, and America, all of a sudden, America is one.
One for a very short time.
Yeah,
5 minutes.
America is one, and I think that's what Father meant. Is, and if Putin decided, you see what would happen if Putin decided to go into Alaska. The country would, as one, decide it's time to get cold.
I would agree with you, except for the fact that there's about a third of the country that will do whatever this one particular madman says. And if this particular madman says, it was originally Russia's and Putin should have it back, there's this whole branch of government right now that will justify it.
Yeah.
And go along with it. And that's the part that I don't understand. Like that's the part that is most disconcerting to me, that we seem to be fighting against our better nature and our own sort of utilitarian best interests in the name of tribalism.
Okay, so real quickly in regards to what you had said with regard to were people meaner before. I don't know that people were any meaner because I've said my whole life I prefer somebody who's outwardly racist as opposed to what we had become very conditioned to, which is polite racism. And so when you think about, well, maybe it seemed nicer before, but we were also conditioned differently before. Yeah. Like we were also conditioned to understand that we were black first and that we were always going to do whatever any white person asked of us. Like that's something that we are just raised to understand and know. Just like as a woman, you're raised to understand and know that a man is for the most part, some of us have very liberal thinking parents, but not all of us did. The general understanding is that men are in control, white men in particular, and you should be subservient to that. So to say, well, was it nicer or is it showing itself more now? I really feel like it's kind of 6 of one and half a dozen of another. It's kind of comparing 2 very separate things because the conditioning surrounding what we were understanding to be true was completely different than what's going on now, which in part, by the way, is also due to social media. More people have more access to more information from different sources. Yeah, for sure. So they then see perspectives that you weren't raised to understand or know in your home.
For sure. And I would say that for sure that factionalism is a huge problem on social media, and people factionalize in the most bizarre ways. They self-segregate in social media in a very bizarre way. In real life, here we are, we're all sitting here, we're an incredibly diverse group of people. We're people from all different walks of life, all different races, all different ethnicities, all different parts of the world.
And we let Fernando hang out with us, too.
Fernando's allowed here. I'm allowed here. My dad's allowed here. Jeremy's allowed here.
Not really.
Luce is allowed here.
I just turn up.
Everybody is allowed here. It doesn't matter because we're not self-segregating here.
But it's
in a factionalized society, people self-segregate, and social media does promote that.
So Louis says it's the biggest calamity is lack of compassion. What about Fernando? What do you think, buddy?
I would say the internet.
The internet? Yeah.
No joke.
A lot of people
you can
would say
make a
that.
transaction.
A lot of people would say. I know.
They don't even know where the banks are. Like how are you gonna move your money if you don't even have like a bank like in your neighborhood? You know, like.
So you're saying we're conditioned so much by the internet to this point that if the internet stops, like it doesn't exist suddenly, it gets turned off, we will be helpless.
And imagine the amount of jobs will be lost on that too.
Yeah, I know what Jeremy's number one concern is.
Which one?
Driverless cars.
It
always is the case.
Gonna have the car.
Always is the
Don't
case.
get me going. Well, we touched on this a few podcasts ago with what happens if there was it's not a microburst, is it? I can't think. EMP, yeah. There are a number of people who could do that to us. And just imagine we've got Hurricane Ian, fooling around with Florida
What
at the
an
moment.
asshole.
What if all of a sudden the internet went down completely? Emergency management, gone. Everything's gone. We might still have electricity if we're living in a place like Lawrence, but the big cities wouldn't.
New York.
New York, Mr. Adams would have to worry. I think that's a really big deal. That there are people out there who could very easily take out the internet. And
Yeah, I've been thinking about that for a while.
so, next question then. This is another question which I don't understand. It's very, very American, this is.
Yeah.
'Tis soon to be the season. Now that on its own, around the rest of the world, means Christmas. Here, it means Halloween. Is Halloween the best holiday or the worst holiday? And it's not a holiday. Just by the way.
How dare you?
Should be.
How dare
Nobody
you?
gets the day off. Holiday is when you get the day off.
Is Halloween...
I agree with that.
Eli is looking at me stunned. In fact, his beard is...
Halloween is the best holiday.
Yes.
And it's all he can do is sit up straight. It's the best holiday. Right, okay, it's the best holiday. Why? And you've got
Because
no more
not
beer.
only is it spooky and you look at things that you would never look at in the whole year in your whole life. On Halloween, you can look at things you would never look at, that you would never think to look at. And you can see things about the human experience you never thought before. You can see the ways that you're connected to life in other ways you never thought before, the ways you're connected to death.
Have you
You've been
just
to
tried
the
to
zombie
mess
walk
before.
too many times.
Exactly, I'm zombie walking.
Oh yeah.
I got
Oh
him.
yeah.
Just to illustrate the answer,
The
because
spirits are alive
Halloween makes you feel connected to death.
of course.
does?
Yeah,
All right,
all
that's
the-
beans.
Spooky
all the
costume.
dead.
Lewis.
Beans.
Lewis.
And for years, the origin of Halloween is deep, ain't it? It ain't just
Where's it
started
from?
in America.
It's the Southern
Pagan,
America, right?
England.
It's pagan, or yeah.
Pagan.
Yeah, it's a pagan holiday.
Yeah.
From like
Stonehenge and all that
Brazil
sort of
or
stuff.
something.
Druids.
All Hallows Eve.
No, it's from... It's from Salisbury Plain. Lewis.
Halloween is probably my favorite holiday.
But it's not a holiday.
I reject your notion of reality and substitute my own. It is.
Please stop doing that.
I reject your rejection.
I absolutely enjoy the fact that we have a time set aside that we scare ourselves.
But
Like,
you
that's-
don't.
But nobody's scared.
Oh.
I don't know.
Well,
Like-
the little kids are, but that's kind of cruel.
Okay, maybe it's cruel. Or maybe it is part of this life-affirming tradition that like causes people to look at the value of life. And
You're full of shit. I'm sorry. That just came out.
Look, I got a law degree. It is a
That
foregone
does-
conclusion that I'm
you're full of shit. Okay,
Yeah,
good.
okay.
All right, so we're
But-
on the same page.
Do you
Okay, go
mean
ahead.
scared like when your mother-in-law says, ready or not, here I come?
I don't know
That sort
what
of
you mean.
scared?
I don't even want to think about what it is that you mean. But I'm going to say that there is something.
I thought that was rather good, actually.
The only word I can come up with is reaffirming about the fact that there's this period where, like, you are faced with the unknown. You are faced with the idea that there might be entities, spirits, whatever, that are bigger than you, that are out
No,
there.
you're faced with the idea that next door has candy and you want some.
Amen to that, dude. Like, cause you can go to a haunted place any time of year and face that.
Same. I was saying the
You
same.
can, but it's not sort of a societally defined tradition to do so. We actually have this period from the beginning of October to the end of October where this is pretty much the focus of everything that we do, both both within the community and like economic. It's an economic engine.
Yeah.
there's a really big push to partake in this tradition.
Because you live in a farming state and it's really all about harvest. Like the majority of Halloween stuff is about harvest celebration. And that's where the majority of that comes from. Little less to do with, hey, let's scare the shit out of 7-year-olds with a bloody mask.
I think it's all-
Just a second. Just a second. First of all, where I come from, we've been scaring the shit out.
about Britain.
We've been scaring the shit out of 7-year-olds forever. But
do you need a holiday for it?
No, every day.
Up until
There you go. That's how you
up
really
until
instill
1999, I would have absolutely no idea at all when Halloween was. I mean, I couldn't give you a month. No idea at all. That's England. And I bet you, Ivo, you didn't do Halloween, did you?
No.
The point is, America's the only place that does Halloween.
Yeah.
Now, it's
not
moving.
surprising.
Moving,
Very commercial.
You know, Canada,
Yeah.
they're getting it, and the Mexicans have probably
Even
got
in Bulgaria, they're doing
Well,
it.
the Mexicans
yeah.
have Dia de los Muertos, which is actually a whole separate actual spiritual
But
holiday.
Don't forget, my friends, we did Macbeth, you know, and the witches round the cauldron and all that sort of thing.
Shakespeare.
At the beginning of Macbeth, the prophet says, "You're going to be king, don't worry about it." That's what the prophet says in the prophet thing, right? Then, still, I mean, he doesn't say it like that. What the prophet says is, she says, Macbeth will one day be king. And then, instead of just waiting to be king, Macbeth started killing a bunch of people to make himself be king.
Yeah.
And from my perspective,
Prophet's fault.
well, they say it's the prophet's fault, but from my perspective, if I met a prophet and everybody was like, "That's a real prophet," and that was an accepted thing in my world, and the prophet said, "You're going to be king one day," I wouldn't even work. I would take a nap until I was king.
Yeah,
I wouldn't
very-
start killing people.
That's good.
Yeah.
But in terms of back to the Halloween, so there's something about what Lewis said that is intriguing. So usually we are petrified by monsters since we were little children, and monsters are scary. And there's legendary monsters, you know, like Frankenstein monster and Dracula and whatnot. So, Loch Ness. So it is kind of refreshing to have a holiday where we face those monsters and satirize them and turn them into caricatures and help kids to face them and associate them with carbohydrates instead of death and mayhem and gore.
Yeah.
Was your sentence just kill kids? Like, did you just
No,
you
he's
just
saying
said
just
that
give
in
him
a
the-
sentence?
Yeah.
He said, "Give him the candy. Don't make him dress up like a zombie."
Stick them on a spike.
I was
Yeah.
just like, I
But
hear that sentence right. Okay.
yeah, so that makes the holiday kind of cool. For me, it's very cool because the rest of the celebrations in the States, usually, it's all about getting together with some distant family, distant relatives, and spending a lot of time with them, too much time, and also eating copious amount of food and feeling very, very sick afterwards. And this one I associate mostly with partying, and very often just getting together with friends and having a
it is
Halloween
also
party.
an opportunity for certain Bulgarians I know to go and sit in certain restaurants in
Yes.
the middle of town with very expensive cameras,
Yeah.
taking photographs and film of people who should know better because they started 2 hours earlier.
Yes, I love. So that's a tradition that I have with my lovely wife, who's sitting there on a table, and we always have we always get a table at the Mad Greek on Halloween, outdoors. Rain or shine, sometimes it snows, and we're still there on that table. And they save it for us. We sit there, get a bottle of Pinot Noir, and some salads, and I set up there, and there's a procession of kids and people dressed in all kinds of costumes, and I have my Canon Rebel, and I take pictures of each costume, and people usually are so kind about it, and they made those costumes because they want to be seen. And so they pose for the pictures, then I post the pictures on Facebook, one of the few things that I actually post, and I have like thousands of people in Europe that are waiting for those pictures. Every Halloween, they're waiting. They want to see the new costumes, and sometimes they're very original. And it's a good tradition on our main street, on Mass Street. And for the last 2 years, we've been deprived of it. And it's really hurt me, weirdly, almost more than anything else. The pandemic canceled the Halloween parade.
Are they doing it this year?
Procession. They better do it this year. I mean, last year they canceled it, and that was unnecessary to cancel it. People were costumed and wearing masks anyway. So I hope this year it happens. But for 2 years, I didn't have the opportunity to keep the tradition going. So I love this day, and it's wonderful.
Fernando, down in Brazil, did they used to do anything for Halloween?
It's getting bigger than ever was.
But not when you were a kid.
No, not on my time. Yeah. When I was like in my last years, there was more commonly in all the school, usually in the school, but not as big as here.
So I'm
at all.
curious.
But I'm sure it's much larger than since I left there for
but
sure.
do you guys do Halloween like traditionally, like we do it here?
No.
Or like
no,
is it
no,
more
it
focused
was
on like dealing?
simulated. It was they just got because it was school and I don't know movies that the culture.
Kathleen, when you were a kid,
there was no other thing like that.
Before the railway come.
What back
did
in
you?
the 17th century.
Yeah. What did you do anything? Did you go out with your brothers? Bang on doors and
God,
things like that?
with my little brothers. No, I went
Trick or
different
treating.
directions.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd go up and down our street in a nice neighborhood that just a lot of kids around there. We knew the places that weren't home on Halloween but left big bowls of candy outside their door. And if you didn't get there fast, that would be gone.
Yeah.
They leave the bowl.
Yeah.
Very telling.
That's what we
Very
do.
telling about that area.
Yeah, that's what we do because we go to the Mad Greek and we leave,
Oh, I had a funny story about Halloween. Can I tell
and
it?
then I usually I put the candy in a bowl and I say take just one and watch out, you're on candy camera. So
I have a funny story about Halloween. Can I tell it?
Yeah.
So last year in Halloween, I was in university and they were working me like crazy. I do all the readings, so I'm sure you do the same thing. So it's like you got like 6 books a week to read per class because they think all these kids are geniuses, but they're all on Adderall. I'm not going to get into that. So anyway, I'm at home working, and I'm so confused and so like I went to my parents' house to work. I'm staying up all night writing essays every single week. I don't know what day of the month it is. I've written basically like 3 books in 2 weeks on different philosophers for these professors. So I don't know what day of the month it is. I'm up all night writing, and so it's October 31st, and I don't know it. Somebody rings the doorbell. I go look out the doorbell, and I see a small young family outside I peek through the window, because I don't just open the door. I peek through the window. I see a small young family on the doorstep, and I'm thinking to myself, why is there a young family here? Did mom and dad invite a young family here? Is a young family in need of protection? Is this an immigrant family? Is this a young family that mom and dad met that was in trouble that they were like, we're going to let them stay with us now? Who is this young family? Then I see the children are in costumes. I go, holy shit, it must be Halloween. because they're not going to show up in costumes if they need help. Then I see there's the bowl. Then I see the bowls out there, and I'm like, oh, not only is it Halloween, they're stupid. They didn't go to the bowl, and they rang the doorbell. So that's my funny story. That's my little Joe Biden story about Halloween.
Love it.
Stick 'em on a spike.
Love it.
So last question before we all go back home and do things. How much has your diet changed from childhood to now? Kathleen.
As a child, I really didn't drink that much beer.
Half of the amount. Just half of the amount.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
It's all about moderation, Kath. I'm glad
Yeah.
you've learned that.
Yeah.
All right, so that was Kathleen. Eli. Oh, Eli.
Yes.
Yes, you're still with us?
Yes.
Good, excellent.
I'm here.
Okay, yeah. Good job.
Eli Sears got French fries.
So, holding on to his microphone there for dear life.
He's ready.
He's
How
ready.
has your
Eli,
diet
how has
changed?
your diet changed from childhood to now?
A lot less sweet, a lot more of them steaks. More steaks.
More steaks.
Beef.
Well, steak's
what's for dinner?
good. Fernando, we're going around the table.
I'll pass to Andrei.
No, you got to answer the question.
I mean, definitely ate healthier back in the day. I don't know, caused by,
You mean you used to eat healthier than you
Much.
are now?
much healthier
Oh,
back in the day.
okay.
That's it?
All right. So,
I would say same as Kathleen. I used to not drink that much beer. But I would probably say I probably also ate healthier when I was littler because I didn't have much control over what I ate. And now I eat stuff that tastes good. So,
Yeah.
Which means sugar.
Yeah. Everybody goes through that stage. Like when the parents aren't in control of the diet, you eat whatever. Yeah.
Kind of with what Andre said, I just really don't. My parents don't have much control of what I'm eating, other than if they're cooking it. So I tend to go out and get some fast food more. But
Yeah.
you'd find if you ate sensibly, you'd have more control over your hair. Lewis.
Grew up exceedingly poor. My mom had to feed like a family of 7 on like literally a food budget of like $100 a month.
That's insane.
It really like
How did she
I
do
have
it?
no
Did she get a lot of
fucking
rice?
idea.
How did
Like,
she do that?
Plenty
well,
of people do it, baby.
it was low quality food, basically.
Yeah.
So like, the way that my diet has probably changed most is that I have access to just higher quality food now as an adult. But also at the same time, I eat a lot more processed stuff. So like everything that I ate as a kid was home cooked. We never went to a restaurant. Like a trip to McDonald's happened once every 6 months, if that often. So now I eat a lot crappier food, like when I'm here at a bar. But when I'm at home, like if I have a steak, it's an actual steak and not the, least
gristle.
appealing piece of gristle that the grocer can find and sell to the poor folks. So
Meredith.
Well, my mom actually cooked everything we ate when we were kids, so I'd say I ate fairly healthy when I was a kid, except for on Wednesdays, because that was Dad's day off, and we would get in the car at like 8 o'clock in the morning and just drive around and eat at like every diner, all the like greasiest things. That's why patty melt is my favorite thing ever. So, but now I'd say my diet, like I do make most of what Cassie and I eat, I think. But higher quality foods, I would say also. Yeah.
Ivo.
I obviously ate meat when I was a kid, and that was a massive change because about 32 years ago I quit eating meat, and that's a massive change of nutrition. Then all of the people that are kind of my generation here, we have significantly changed our diet without even realizing it, because at some point the U.S. government started subsidizing corn producers to a point where there was an enormous surplus of corn in the country, and all this crop had to be used somewhere, and they decided to make sweetener out of it. So eventually the high fructose corn syrup replaced sweeteners in almost all food. So almost everything we eat today has high fructose corn syrup. That's a massive shift in diet for everyone. So when I was a kid, obviously we didn't have that, and I didn't consume so much high fructose corn syrup, which is very damaging, by the way, and causes
And then
diabetes.
they put it in things that should be healthy, like peanut butter. It should just be peanut butter.
Yeah.
And they put it in, it's almost like they're trying to poison us.
Yeah. So, but I have to remind myself before we go home and do things, as Jeremy said, to eat as much, as little as possible stuff that has high fructose corn syrup.
Well, and the affordable food has high fructose corn syrup, and the non-affordable food doesn't, and it's a whole little trick that they play, the rich people.
Mr. Taylor, now that you are here
Yeah.
in the best country, How does your diet differ from
Well,
when
there's
you
a
were
couple
growing
of
up?
things actually. First of all, we never had McDonald's or Kentucky Fried Chicken until I was in my probably 30s.
It's kitchen fresh.
And so there was that. Secondly, here chicken click comes out of our ears. I can remember for
Do you use
Sunday
NyQuil?
lunch having chicken being a really big deal, coming
Kinda makes a
after
good
lamb and beef and pork. Chicken was a much bigger deal than those. We had a lot of lamb. Lamb came in from Australia in the ships in the freezers. And
make a hell of a crew.
I imagine that I can still remember my mother having to use tokens to get, food. I don't mean pay for it. I mean, how
Just
much
give
you
it
were
to the
allowed.
butler and he would-
How much you were allowed to have.
No.
And we would go down to the store. There was a shop down the road, and that
It was
that
still
was
rationing.
no, it was rationing.
Rationing. Oh, that's rough.
Ru-
That is
right.
really rough.
But I'm not sure if I'm imagining it, but I remember her having a book with little things that you tear out.
Coupons.
Yeah, coupons, and to get certain things. So I don't know.
So, Jeremy, there's one thing that I got to mention because I remember the joy on your face when somebody, I think it might have been Chef, brought you pasties.
Pasties.
I'm sorry, what?
Pasties. I'm sorry.
Pasties.
Pasties.
Yes.
There
No,
was also a
pasties.
time when he bought me pasties, but
But that's completely different. That was a
Can we
completely
stop?
different thing.
What?
Yeah.
I thought we
Pasties,
said
yeah.
we weren't doing
So,
this on
will
the
you-
podcast, guys.
So, can you
Pasties.
describe the pasty for the folks that don't know what that is?
Cornish pasty. A Cornish pasty is a meat, potato, rutabaga, you call it, don't you, and onions, right, in a pastry crust.
And gravy.
It's half moon shaped. So basically, if you can think of a piece of pastry, dinner plate size, okay, you put
Would you people stop shaking your heads at me trying to convince me that sounds good? I'm so sorry.
No,
doesn't
hear
sound
me.
good, but actually it
hear
tastes
me.
good.
And so what would happen would be the miners in Cornwall, where I come from, their wives, they would have meat on Sunday, and they would make these what are called Cornish pasties, which would last all week. The idea was to make enough to make them. And anyway, so you think of a round of pastry, right, about the size of a dinner plate. You
Think
fill half
calzone.
of it. You fill, like a calzone. You fill half of it with meat,
Stew,
potatoes,
basically.
stewed stuff. Fold it over and then crimp it. Right, crimp it. Now the idea is that the miners would go down these incredibly deep mines, down ladders, and they'd be mining, and they could hold the crimp bit with their dirty fingers and eat the rest of it, and then they would throw the crimp bit off the ladder, and away we go.
You know how I said that a nuclear holocaust scares me? I take that back and replace it with British cuisine.
Amen. That's what I'm sitting here thinking. I'm
You know
like,
what you
these
remember?
white people trying to convince me this stuff is good. No.
Jeremy, what was that called? What was it? Mayonnaise dressing? It was like mayonnaise for a salad.
It goes great with spotted dick.
Listen, I'm not
Oh,
gonna.
my
You grew up
Lord.
with it, so
But
you love
for
it. I mean,
for
there's foods I
example-
love that I grew up with.
For example, America thinks it's the only place that does steak. Not true.
we
We
just
have
do it
beef.
well.
We
No,
have
but
beef in.
black people add seasoning, though. That's
We
an
have
important part.
beef in England, and we get our beef from Scotland. And there are restaurants in London today where if you go in for a steak dinner, let's say, roast beef or a steak or something, they don't ask how you want it cooked.
They
You just get it.
yeah. You just-
And the chefs will literally be horrified if you say, well, I like it cooked rare. The answer
just-
will be
It would say,
it will
"Moo
be cooked.
laddie."
It will be cooked properly, sir.
yeah.
Okay, and see, that's one of many things that's wrong with food in England. Like, I'm sorry.
But
Like-
France as well. You can't discuss how
Yeah, I
the
was
chef
about to say
prepare
that.
food.
Actually,
Yeah,
You
it's
can't
up to the
discuss.
chef.
That's the way they do.
They're the
I-
experts.
I kind of agree with that.
Yeah. All right.
No.
It depends. It depends. Though, like
I do.
I need my steak to have a little bit of blood. Sorry.
We gotta agree.
That
to
gives it
disagree.
the flavor.
I think I'm going to. I think
rare.
I think
I like
I'm.
blood.
I think I'm.
I guess
going
if I went to a
to
bookstore, I wouldn't be like I'm talking to the person like actually, could you change the cover of the book and change the side of the book and change the one or two pages in the book? Like, I wouldn't say that at a bookstore. So, like, to say that at a restaurant is kind of, I guess it's a similar
You
thing.
ain't eating the book,
Very
though.
good point, young Alena. I was actually going to give Andrei all the points for tonight as the winner, but Alena just pipped him. So she scores the most points for that very good point. You've been listening to another Wednesday Night Undressed. I'd like to thank the team, and we've got a big team. Kathleen.
Hello. Goodbye. Hello.
Well,
Bye-bye.
I don't know.
Which is
Eli.
it?
Fernando. Andre. The
Bye.
person who I got his name wrong.
Riley.
He's not called Crow, he's called Riley. Riley the Hare. Okay, Lewis was with us. Meredith was with us. Alena, and of course my friend Ivo.
Auf Wiedersehen.
And Cassidy didn't join us, but is here.
She's over there
She's
speaking
waving
French.
at
Live
us,
studio
doing
audience
French.
tonight.
Yes, she's our lead in French. We want to thank our producer and engineer tonight, Mr. Neil Rasmussen.
On the nose.
On his
He's
knob.
got a lot more
In
knobs
fact,
now.
I have to say, but thanks to our sponsors, and we're going to have a quiet word with Susan. We now have this gigantic, great control board, and Neil is sitting there rubbing his hands together like someone from, I don't know, Dickens, Scrooge or something. No.
It's called a Dickensian rub.
Yeah, Dickensian rub, yes. He's ever so humble. Uriah Heep, in fact.
So many
He's
things.
doing a Uriah Heep.
So many
But anyway,
things.
you all come back and listen to us. You can pick these up on Facebook and everywhere else. And again, thank you very much for listening.
Yay!